First, the Agni-V Missile, a weapon of incredible range, piercing the skies with precision, reminding the world that India's reach knows no boundaries. It was not just a missile. It was a declaration that India stands tall, untouchable. Second, the BrahMos cruise missile, supersonic, relentless, one of the fastest in the world. A joint marvel of engineering, moving with such deadly speed that even the most advanced defense systems hesitate. America had to admit this was something rare. Third, the INS Arihant, India's first nuclear-powered submarine, silent beneath the ocean waves, carrying the strength of deterrence itself. A vessel that whispered into the deep seas India is ready. Fourth, the Tejas Fighter Jet, light in weight, but heavy in power. A jet born from Indian hands, defying decades of doubt, soaring through the skies as proof that self-reliance was no longer a dream, but a reality. Fifth, the S-400 Triumph system, a shield of the skies. While imported from Russia, India's deployment of this system reshaped strategies, warning every potential adversary. Your planes may take off, but they may never return. Sixth, the Pinaka rocket system, precision-guided, devastating in force, a storm of a fire raining down with accuracy that astonishes. A reminder that India's defenses are not passive, they are fierce. Seventh, the Agni-V Missile defense system, guarding the skies above, protecting the nation from unseen threats, proving that India's shield is as mighty as its sword. Eighth, the INS Vikramaditya, a floating fortress, an aircraft carrier commanding the seas, declaring with its very presence that India's power stretches beyond its shores. Ninth, the INS Vikrant, the first indigenous aircraft carrier built by Indian minds and Indian hands. It was more than steel and machinery. It was a symbol of independence, a sign that India no longer borrows its wings, but builds them. And 10th, the nuclear arsenal itself, silent, hidden, but undeniable, a force that ensures no enemy dares cross the line. These 10 weapons, they are not just machines of war, they are symbols of a nation's rise, of resilience forged through centuries, of a future where India stands unshaken, and for America, a nation long accustomed to dominance. It was a moment of realization that the balance of power is shifting and a new voice has entered the halls of strength. India has shocked the world, not with chaos, not with fear, but with brilliance, with courage, and with the unyielding spirit of a people who refuse to be broken. And so the message echoes across oceans and borders. India is not just awake. India is armed. India is ready. The Agni-V Missile is more than just a piece of military hardware. It represents a turning point in India's journey towards becoming a global power that can no longer be overlooked. When India successfully tested this intercontinental ballistic missile, it was not simply a demonstration of technology, but rather a declaration to the world that India now possessed the capability to defend its sovereignty with unmatched precision and reach. With a striking range that can cover almost the entire continent of Asia and extend deep into Europe, Agni-V instantly elevated India into an elite group of nations capable of wielding such far-reaching power. For decades, intercontinental ballistic missiles were considered the hallmark of superpowers, a badge worn only by those who could project their influence thousands of kilometers beyond their borders. By mastering this technology, India shattered the perception that it was confined to regional power status and boldly stepped onto the global stage. The development of Agni-V was not a matter of mere replication. It was born from relentless dedication, scientific innovation, and a vision that India would never again be at the mercy of others for its security. Every component, every calculation, and every launch was the result of years of perseverance by Indian scientists and engineers who refused to bow down to limitations or foreign dependence. The missile's solid fuel propulsion system, combined with advanced guidance and navigation technologies, gave it not only range, but also the precision to strike with unerring accuracy, This blend of reach and accuracy meant that India was no longer a silent observer in matters of global security. It had the means to ensure that its voice would be heard. For America and other world powers, the successful deployment of Agni-V was a wake-up call. It was not just about the missile itself, but what it symbolized. It was proof that India had crossed a threshold that only a handful of nations had ever achieved. It represented a balance of power, a message that India could no longer be ignored, underestimated, or pressured into submission. The test ignited conversations in strategic circles worldwide, forcing analysts to reevaluate India's position in the hierarchy of power. Agni-V was not an act of aggression, but a quiet, confident assertion of sovereignty. It spoke not with noise, but with presence, a presence that America and the entire world could not help but respect. The BrahMos cruise missile is often described as a masterpiece of speed, precision, and destructive capability, but in reality, it is far more than just a missile. It is the embodiment of technological partnership, engineering brilliance, and strategic foresight, developed jointly by India and Russia. The BrahMos has redefined what a cruise missile can achieve, leaving even the most advanced militaries across the world in awe. What makes it truly extraordinary is its supersonic speed, capable of traveling at nearly 3 times the speed of sound. In practical terms, this means the time available for an enemy to detect, track, and neutralize the missile is cut drastically short, making defense against it nearly impossible. This sheer velocity alone placed BrahMos in a category that very few missiles in the world could compete with. Beyond its speed, BrahMos is a weapon of precision. With the ability to strike targets with pinpoint accuracy, it represents the perfect blend of speed and intelligence. Whether aimed at land-based targets, warships at sea, or fortified enemy positions, the missile delivers devastating force exactly where it is intended. Its versatility further enhances its power. It can be launched from land, air, sea, and even submarines. This multi-platform capability allows India to respond flexibly to any challenge, projecting its strength across terrains and scenarios with seamless efficiency. For America, known for its dominance in advanced weapon systems, the BrahMos was a moment of reckoning. Here was a missile that not only matched, but in certain aspects surpassed anything they had built in terms of speed and deployment versatility. The thought that India possessed a missile capable of outrunning and outmaneuvering modern defenses forced strategists to pay closer attention to India's rising defense capabilities. It wasn't just about the missile. It was about the message that India could innovate on a global scale, creating weapons that stood shoulder to shoulder with the most advanced systems in the world. The BrahMos was more than steel and fuel. It was confidence in motion. It was the visible proof that India's scientific community could achieve the extraordinary and that the country's defense vision was no longer reactive, but boldly proactive. Each successful test, each deployment, and each enhancement of BrahMos echoed one simple truth: India was no longer a nation limited to borrowing power from others. It was a creator of strength, a nation that could shock even the most prepared superpowers. The INS Arihant is not just a submarine. It is a silent guardian of India's sovereignty, moving unseen beneath the oceans with the weight of deterrence resting on its steel hull. For decades, the idea of possessing a nuclear-powered submarine armed with ballistic missiles was something reserved for the most powerful nations. America, Russia, China, and a handful of others. When India unveiled the Arihant, it marked the completion of its nuclear triad, the ability to launch nuclear weapons from land, air, and sea. This capability transformed India from a regional power into a nation that could project invulnerability on a global scale. A nuclear submarine carries with it a profound psychological impact, for its true power lies in invisibility. The Arihant can patrol silently in the depths of the ocean for months, undetected, and always ready to respond should the nation's security be threatened. The journey to Arihant was long, filled with challenges and skepticism. Building a nuclear-powered submarine required mastery over complex technologies, miniaturized nuclear reactors, underwater propulsion systems, and advanced stealth capabilities. India's scientists and engineers persevered, working tirelessly to prove that no challenge was beyond reach. When Arihant was finally commissioned, it was more than a military achievement. It was a symbol of resilience. The proof that India's determination could shape technologies that once seemed unattainable. For America and the rest of the world, Arihant was an undeniable signal. It was not just another vessel. It was the ultimate assurance that India's nuclear deterrence could never be compromised. Unlike missiles on land or aircraft vulnerable to first strikes, a nuclear submarine hides beneath the ocean, guaranteeing a second strike capability. This means that even in the worst case scenario, if India were attacked, the Arihant would still carry the power to respond with devastating force. That assurance alone redefined the strategic balance of power in South Asia and beyond. The presence of Arihant beneath the oceans gave India a new level of confidence in its security. It allowed the nation to stand firm on the world stage, knowing that its shield of deterrence was unshakable. To its allies, Arihant was reassurance. To its adversaries, it was a warning whispered from the depths, silent, invisible, unstoppable. In that silence lay a message the world could not ignore. India was ready, not just on land, not just in the skies, but in the boundless depths of the oceans. The Tejas Fighter Jet is more than an aircraft. It is a statement of independence, resilience, and ambition. For years, critics doubted India's ability to create a modern fighter jet capable of standing against the most advanced machines in the skies. Developing an indigenous aircraft is one of the most complex challenges in defense technology. Every rivet, every sensor, every system must perform with flawless precision at supersonic speeds. Many believed India would remain forever dependent on foreign suppliers. Yet, when the Tejas took to the skies, it silenced the skeptics and announced to the world that India could not only dream of building its own jet, but could succeed in doing so. The Tejas is a lightweight, multi-role fighter designed for both offensive and defensive operations. It is agile, fast, and versatile, capable of engaging in dogfights, striking ground targets, and patrolling borders with equal efficiency. What makes it remarkable is not just its technical specifications, but the fact that it was conceived, designed, and built by Indian minds. It represents decades of scientific persistence, countless tests, and the unwavering belief that India must chart its own course in defense aviation. This was not a weapon imported from another nation. It was a creation born out of India's determination to be self-reliant. For the world, and especially for America, the Tejas was a reminder that technological power is not the monopoly of a few nations. Here was a jet built from scratch, incorporating advanced avionics, fly-by-wire systems, and weapons integration that rivaled many global counterparts. It was not just about cost efficiency or numbers. It was about the symbolism of freedom. Every flight of the Tejas is a flight of sovereignty, proof that India no longer needs to rely entirely on others for the defense of its skies. The Tejas program also ignited a new sense of pride within India, inspiring the next generation of scientists, engineers, and pilots. It showed them that self-reliance was not just a political slogan, but a living reality soaring high above the clouds. To its allies, it demonstrated India's growing capability to innovate. To its adversaries, it was a warning that India would defend its skies with wings it forged itself. And to America, it was undeniable evidence that India's future in defense was no longer about following others, but about leading in its own right. The Tejas is not merely a machine of war. It is a symbol of a nation rising, determined to shape its destiny with its own hands. The strength of a nation does not lie only in the weapons it uses to strike, but also in the shields it builds to protect. India's defense systems, ranging from the S-400 Triumph to the Agni-V Missile defense system and the Pinaka rocket launcher, are a testament to this philosophy. Together, they form layers of protection and offense, ensuring that the country is prepared for every possibility, from an aerial assault to a large-scale ground conflict. The deployment of these systems not only strengthens India's defense, but also sends a clear message to the world. Any attack will be met with precision, power, and resilience. The S-400 Triumph, one of the most advanced air defense systems in the world, stands as a guardian of the skies, with the ability to track and neutralize multiple incoming targets, whether missiles, aircraft, or drones, at ranges of hundreds of kilometers. It creates an impenetrable shield. When India acquired and deployed this system, it wasn't simply a purchase, it was a game changer. For adversaries, it meant that launching an attack would no longer be a straightforward calculation. For America, it was a reminder that India had access to the kind of defense that could challenge even the most advanced aerial technologies. The Agni-V Missile defense system added another layer of confidence. Unlike the imported S-400, Agni was born from India's own laboratories. It was developed to protect vital installations and troops from enemy aircraft, providing a reliable shield against medium-range threats. The Agni system symbolized India's ability not just to buy cutting-edge defense, but to build it with its own expertise. Each successful deployment carried with it the pride of independence, proving that India could guard its skies strong enough to dissuade even the thought of one. With missiles capable of carrying nuclear warheads from the land-based Agni series to submarine launch systems like those aboard the INS Arihant, India's second strike capability is assured. This means that even if attacked, the nation will always have the strength to respond decisively. That assurance alone is enough to maintain stability, preventing conflicts from escalating into catastrophic wars. The journey to nuclear capability was not easy. It required courage to stand firm against global pressure, sanctions, and isolation. Yet, India's leadership understood that in a world where nuclear weapons existed, remaining without them meant remaining vulnerable. Every test conducted, every weapon developed was a step toward securing a future where India's sovereignty could never be compromised. When the world witnessed without waiting for foreign aid. Then comes the Pinaka rocket system, a weapon of offense and deterrence named after the bow of Lord Shiva. Pinaka rained down fire with devastating accuracy. Capable of launching a barrage of rockets in seconds, it was designed to overwhelm and destroy enemy positions with sheer intensity. Its battlefield presence was not just tactical, but psychological, breaking the spirit of adversaries who knew that Pinaka's storm could be unleashed at any moment. Together, these systems form a powerful triad: shield, sword, and storm. They protect the nation's skies, its soldiers, and its sovereignty with unyielding strength. For America and other powers observing from afar, these weapons were not just impressive machines. They were proof that India had built a defense architecture capable of facing modern threats head on. A fortress of resilience that could not be ignored. India's new India's nuclear tests, it was not simply an explosion in the desert. It was the sound of a nation breaking free from dependence, declaring that it would shape its own destiny. For America and other superpowers, India's nuclear capability was a moment of realization. A country once viewed primarily as a developing nation now stood in the same circle as the nuclear-armed elite. It altered the global equation, compelling even the strongest nations to treat India with a new level of respect. The weapons themselves remain hidden, silent, and hopefully never used. Yet their presence ensures that India cannot be underestimated or coerced. In their silence lies immense power. And in that power lies the promise that India will stand unbroken, safeguarded by the ultimate shield of deterrence.